are here. Listen, this is the Relationship Exchange. I'm your girl, Angela A. Love Lewis, and I'm here with my fabulous, amazing co-host, Miss S. Marie Moore. Listen, we are here and excited about another Tuesday night. S. Marie, how are you today?
I am fabulous. How are you?
Fantastic. Listen, this October the 1st has came in, baby. Fourth quarter strong. I'm ready for it. On the Empowered Morning Show, we kicked off our fast for
Yes.
the 21-day fast. So today was our first day. So, honey, I'm looking for big things to get moving and going and shaking and popping and all those good things. So, yes.
So tell the viewers about the fast. What's the fast? Because whoever's joining might want to participate and don't know. So tell
You
us.
know what? Say less. So we are doing the on the Empowered Mornings show. If you're not following us, make sure you go over to the page at Empowered Mornings, and we're doing two different types. So we have the Daniel fast. It's the first one. So if any of you know the Daniel fast, it has a lot of different things, predominantly plant based. That you can fast with that, no sweets and all of those things. Eliminate the starches and all of those things. It's really good, clean eating and drinking water, 100% fruit juice. Then we have a modified version where you can not go as deep as with the Daniel fast, but at the same time, cutting out sodas, cutting out, sugar. You can eat seafood, turkey, and chicken, but no pork or beef. So we have two different types. And then, of course, we are also looking at not just the fasting from food, but also we're trying to spend more time with God. So, take 24 hours to, get into your Bible. 24 hours, I mean, not 24 hours, take 24 minutes out of your 24 hours to spend some time, meditating, praying, journaling, doing those things that's going to help you to get some clarity. And we have 4 points that we want to or 4 components we want to really focus on. And that is asking God for increased discernment,
Yes.
increased discipline, increased consistency, and then the ability to totally surrender to God, to give everything to Him and let Him be in control. And if you can get all of that done and get in the habit, because again, it's a fast for 21 days, but again, we are looking at it as a lifestyle. Get into the habit of letting God be in control and watch how your life transform. We've been talking about top tier and being mentally strong and really showing up as eagles, not little chickens, baby, but eagles, where we are really going to that next level. It
Right.
requires you to sacrifice and do some things. And fasting is something that gives you an opportunity to deny your flesh and to really just spend that good quality time so that you can hear from God. Because I believe we're in a season where we got a lot of things going on. Hurricane Helene was very devastating for a lot of people. I heard that it looks like it may be something else brewing, within the next a week or so. So we just got to position ourselves to be ready for whatever, and I think that takes some time to really get spiritually strong.
Okay. I
We
love
need that.
that. Thank you for
Hmm.
sharing because I did miss this morning, but I caught wind of it, and I just want to let you know that I'm partially there because I
Okay.
don't eat beef, pork, or chicken. So I'm really already I'm already on part two. So I
Good
might be able
job.
to
Good
listen
job.
to part
Come
two.
on with it. Good morning. Good evening, Miss Doris. How are you?
Good evening.
The thing about it is, making an effort, and with some people with dietary restrictions, it's hard for them to do full fast and things like this. So be mindful of your body and all of that. But if you can't, take some time to fast from social media or to fast from television and what you're putting into your system as far as your ear gate and your eye gate, the music you're listening to or the shows and things that you're watching, let it be inspirational and let it be something that's going to elevate you mentally. So you want to be mentally strong, physically strong, emotionally strong, all of
Yes.
those things, spiritually strong. You want to get into a strong place. And so it requires you to take some action. I know Pastor PG says this is the month of action. October is a month of action. And so if you're not following her, go to LaShonda Robinson. She's doing they're focusing on X for this month. So 28 days of Acts, and you're reading one chapter a day. And so, and then they're fasting on Thursdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., just water or and juices only. So, you got opportunities because most times you hear people fasting at the first of the year. Well, we decided that we're going to do a little bit better. We're going to do a little bit different. We're going to show up now. And yes, Miss Doris put our scripture that we were focusing on is Philippians 4:13. I can do all
Okay.
things through Christ who strengthens me. And
Ooh,
our word that we're focusing on is discernment. Ask God to give you discernment in your life to make the right decisions, to give you wisdom as you go through life. And when you have discernment, you'll be able to know, like, I might need to stay away from some places, stay away from some people. So this is about getting to a place of strength.
I love it. And I think that's amazing. A lot of people, let me back up. I love the fact that one, you're doing it, but two, that you modified it for people who say, you know what, hey, health reasons, personal reasons, I can't
Mhm,
follow this particular, fast, but I can do this one. So
mhm.
I love the fact that you're giving, options. A lot of times that's all we need. Just give us one or two options and let us pick the lesser of the two or whatever. So I think that's
Exactly.
amazing. And your expectation is phenomenal because who doesn't want to be, closer to God and feel good and mentally and physically. There are so many things that take us out of our head.
Yeah.
And to know, hey, we're fasting, we're doing this, that, and the other, then hey, we have a clear mind, heart, body, and soul. And guess what? We think clear, we take things into consideration in a positive way. You can make lemon out of lemonade. I mean, lemonade out of lemons with
Yes.
clear
Yeah.
thinking. So I love it. Thank you for sharing. I know that is not why we're here, but if there's someone who is
Hey,
interested in the fast,
look,
I
you
had
got
to
a double
know.
dose. Look, I got a double dose of some extra
That's
goodness.
right. That's right. So thank you for sharing. But I will say we have some good ones tonight. We have some good exchange confessions. People want to hear from us. Thank you for joining
All
and
right.
just, sending these messages, confessions, because I love it and it's different. A love tonight is different.
Okay, come on. I love that we have people who are brave enough because this is the thing, even though it's anonymous and we're not reading out your name, just
Right.
the fact that you decided that, you know what, I want to get somebody else's opinion because I'm trying to figure this thing out. And
Wow.
I want to, the Bible says seek wise counsel. So whether or not you take our advice, it's good to just have somebody else to give you a different perspective, and hopefully whichever way you choose to go is going to be something that's going to result in a better relationship.
Say it. That's right. That's right. Well, with that being said, let's kick off the first one.
Okay.
So, our
Oh, let
first,
me say this, Miss Doris, you in the comments, and so uh we want you to put your comments and your thoughts about it in as well. So y'all help us to do what we do too. So it's not just Maria and myself doing it. We want you all to, because y'all seasoned and y'all been through some things. So we would love to get your perspective as
absolutely,
well. So
absolutely. So, our first one says, ever since I had a baby, I feel like my relationship has changed with my husband. We're not intimate as often. The baby cries at night. We spend no quality time together, and I feel like he's no longer interested. I feel like he doesn't look at me. I feel like he doesn't notice that what is it? He doesn't notice me. It's like he no longer finds me attractive. What do I do? How do I ensure that my baby doesn't drive my husband to leave or go with the next girl?
before you answer, let me shout out Joanna. Joanna, hey girl. Listen,
My
Joanna was
bestie.
always, honey, supporting us when it was Wife Talk. So we appreciate you being here. And of course, we're going to tell you the same thing. We need you to get in these comments and help us with the answer. And Jerusha, thank you so much. I'm so glad to see you. Hope all is well. Thank you for tuning in. All right,
Mhm.
S. Marie, let's go ahead and get it about the
No,
baby.
give these shout outs. I love it. And Juana's my bestie. So I be needing
I
that support. That's my counsel right there. So I'm excited. So yeah, so again, ever since she's had a baby, she feels her husband is not interested. She doesn't feel like he looks at her. So Oh,
You want me to go first?
you go first. I took it last week. You go first
I
this
know,
week.
right? So let's say this. Um, I know that it can be challenging, when you have a newborn baby. We understand that. And for a lot of couples, it can be very hard to be intimate, especially when you say the baby is crying at night. My first thing is two things, of course. It's the communication piece because you guys need to have a conversation. You need to talk about how you feel and give him an opportunity to share his feelings. But before I delve into that, let me go to the baby crying at night. I don't know what the situation is with you right now. I don't know if you're still on maternity leave or if you're a stay at home mom. But what I would probably say is let's get the baby on a right schedule, so that the baby's not crying all night, but let's help the baby, to be up during the day so that the baby can sleep
Mhm.
at night. Because I'm telling you, if your husband has been out working and he's coming home and then the baby's crying at night while he's trying to go to sleep, that's gonna, do a lot for a lot of people, in terms of I'm not trying, I'm not feeling it at all because that's a source of frustration, irritation, and all of those things. You can't help the baby crying, but we can, do some things to kind of help the baby get on a schedule where, you can reduce the amount of time that the baby's crying at night until the baby eventually gets to a place where he or she sleeps all night. And it's up during the day. So look into some of those things on ways to kind of, change the baby's schedule and
Yeah.
see if that helps. But in the meantime, also have a conversation because bottom line, you know, I wouldn't say that all is lost in
Mhm.
terms of y'all not being intimate because if y'all had a good intimate sex life before, then of course, none of that's changed because y'all still the same people. However,
Absolutely.
you want to have a conversation to find out is it because a lot of times we can say what we want to when things change in your household. It's not that your husband is jealous of the baby, but again, the baby requires your time and attention and you change things, number one, and how you deal with him because maybe you used to have dinner ready at a certain time, maybe you used to even be sexy dressed in the house, maybe you had on whatever you had on and you were appealing. Now that you're a new mom, you don't have time for that. You just like, child, let me give me some sweats and a t-shirt and I'm doing good, not to have throw up and all that on me. I'm trying to adjust too, but at the same time consider him because he was getting all of the attention before and
Yes.
now it's being split. So taking into consideration his feelings, express your feelings, and
Mm.
then see how you can implement ways to recreate the intimacy between the two of you.
I love
Create a bubble, do a bubble bath, you know what I'm saying, and have that a hot bath for him, and then put the baby down, and then y'all go in there and do what you do some things, set the mood, set the tone, have some music playing, light some candles, create a romantic, intimate environment that makes him think, okay, my boo is back. I don't know what was going on over here, but you're not smelling like throw up and breast milk.
Oh,
You're back to my boo again,
running
right?
back.
Let's bring it on back. So Joanna said these are all natural feelings for a woman after having a baby. Talk to your husband and let him know how you feel. Period.
Absolutely.
Because he may be thinking, like, girl, I'm just tired, the baby crying, and really, I'm just give me some sleep before I go to work in the morning.
Right.
That
Right.
could be it. And then she said, what you don't want to do is fall into past postpartum depression. Can't get it when you can be spontaneous and have fun with it. And that's the
Absolutely.
thing. Create you an atmosphere. Create you some spaces where you guys can rekindle what you had before. Because again, if you had it before, it's not all lost. You can get it back again, but it's going to require you to talk about it. It's going to require you to put some effort into it. And then again, you want to include the baby and make sure that you get the baby on the schedule. But at
Yeah.
the same time, remember that you're still a woman. You may be a mother and a wife, but you're a woman first. So don't miss out on being a woman who enjoys an active, good sex life with your husband just because you've had a brand new baby.
Mm. That's it. That there I want to add to what you said. You mentioned the schedule about the baby, but it's even more important to prioritize your quality time with your mate as well. So just as important as the baby, and obviously, babies didn't choose to be here. This was the decision of the two of you, but they need attention but you do as well as your spouse as well. So you have to carve out that time and make sure, even if it's just short time, you want to be consistent, and you want to make sure, like you said, to rekindle that intimacy regardless. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and everything doesn't have to be about sex. It could be a rub on the back,
Mhm.
flirtation. This is your spouse that we're talking about. So, kisses, just simple things that lets both of you know, hey, I'm here. I still love you. I may smell like throw up, but again, I'm here.
Right, right.
Um, it's as simple because you can't help that.
You cannot, exactly. It's the reality, and your
Of
situation has
life.
changed. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And when situations change, you have to adapt. And so
Absolutely.
we got to get to a point where we're not always, allowing things to interrupt, disrupt what we have,
Yeah.
but it requires a change. And so now you have to think of spontaneous, creative ways to still make the magic happen. Still,
Absolutely.
let somebody know that you feel wanted. I mean, like you said, the flirtation. Y'all can just be in the house. He can hit you on your behind while you're cooking dinner, or you can wink something, or you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of little things that you can do, but you've got to think outside of I'm a mom and the baby's crying and this, that, and the other. Still think about your spouse needs your time and attention too, and
Yeah.
you're craving it as well. So let's all the folks be in all the people in the house be happy. A happy house. What is a happy spouse, happy house, and happy baby too. Everybody
Right.
happy.
Yeah, but because parenthood is exhausting, and
It
I don't
is.
want to take that lightly. So do
Right.
understand, we are smiling, but at the end of the day, we know parenthood is exhausting, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just the beginning. You haven't touched the surface of anything as of yet, but make sure that you guys take turns and support one another, because again, it's not all about the mom, but dads take some responsibility, and you both have to come together with that schedule, creating it together. Don't It's not the mom has to create the schedule and tell me. No, let's do it together. That's a part of communicating, like you said, a love. And another thing is, I want to roll it back even further. um your feelings, right? You said, I feel he doesn't look at me. I feel. That's great, but tell him that, because you may be way off. A lot of times people think that it's just the moms who go through depression or emotional state when a baby comes into play. Men do too. It's not the same, so don't be like, oh, as Marie said. Not saying that, but they still go through the same thing. So again, my words to you are, focus on each other. Make sure you're understanding what both of you are feeling, not just you, because he may feel the same way. He may not be touching you because he feels that you may not want to be touched. What are you giving off? So get to the bottom of it before you assume. A lot of times, I'm guilty of it too. We assume things just because we're emotional. And remember, you just had a baby. You are emotional anyway. You're emotional. You're emotionally tired. You're mentally tired. You're physically tired. So it could be hormonal, or it could be really a problem. But you definitely need to talk about it to figure out where the issues lie, versus just assuming that he doesn't think that I'm attractive, because obviously he does. That's why you have a baby.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. We
there
said
are
baby
some
got
things.
here some kind of way, so somebody was feeling something.
Absolutely. Yeah, so and just stay positive. Don't we have it bad, and it's not just women. A lot of us as a people in general, sometimes we can get in our own head and we think negatively. Start just hoping and wishing and praying for the best. Always think positive about what's going on and get to the bottom of it. Clarity will save your life. I promise y'all, it's not just the S. Marie, it's not just the Aries thing. Everybody needs clarity. Because I'm always saying, I need clarity, I'm an Aries, but it's people in general. We need clarity on things because, again, we assume, we're confused, we get, bent out of shape, and that shape really could have stayed where it was at if we weren't in our feelings. So you have to get that
Right.
clarity to really understand what's going on.
Good answer. Good answer. Good
Yes.
answer.
So let's move on to number two. It says, these are so good. They're different. Um, she says, I know you guys opened this up for single, married, and divorced people. However, I have a work question. How do you balance having a conflict at work Most recently, I had a run in with my supervisor who I'm friends and very cordial with. However, things changed when a project didn't get completed, and now our relationship has dwindled.
Mm.
So before we even answer this question, um, anyone who's listening, anyone who will watch, this is the relationship exchange. We opened it up to everyone. So never feel like you can't ask us a question. We will address, anything. We're here to have conversations. And as we always say, there are listeners who may have some great advice or experience of what you have been through or going through. So it doesn't matter if it's about a personal relationship, intimate relationship, friendship, whatever. It's a relationship in general. So just know that we're open to anything. Don't feel like, oh, I can't ask because they want to talk about relationships. We want to talk about all kind of ships, okay? Relationship, friendship, kinship. We're here to talk about it. That's why it's called the relationship exchange, because different types of relationships, you're exchanging them every single day. So just wanted to put that out there. Um, so eh, you want me to go, A Love?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So again, conversation is key. Talk about what's going on, because the conflict or the separation may not be just you. That person could be something could have happened to your supervisor for not getting the project completed on time. Unless you feel that you did something or you didn't do your part, don't assume that your relationship is changing just because of the situation or something you did. A lot of times as leaders, and I will say this, in corporate America, I am a leader. A lot of times we have to step back and reassess ourselves. And sometimes that means, hey, I'm not going to chitter chat like I used to. I have to figure out, why did this project fail? What did it do to the organization? What does it mean for me? Because there are a lot of times when leaders have to answer to failed projects or go lives not going right, and it's a lot. So know that any person in leadership is under a lot of pressure. So make sure you talk to your friend, and if you're that person's friend, don't talk to them at work. Take them out, or hey, let's go to lunch. Or if you don't want to go to lunch, hey, after work, can we talk? Can we meet up? Let me treat you to a drink or to a taco. I don't, whatever y'all do, just treat that person and say, hey, what's going on? Because you need to know, as a friend, you want to know where their headspace is, and you want to support them. She may be your leader, but at the same time, if you're cordial and you have a friendship, you definitely want to make sure her mental is in the right place. You want to make sure that her job is safe. And, maybe at that point, you guys can discuss what went wrong, and maybe you can give some feedback. Maybe you saw some things, or you felt like, hey, we could have done this better or worse, with the project, or maybe we shouldn't have done this. So communication is going to help you, really get over what you're feeling, but it also might help your friend and supervisor as well. But also, don't leave the conversation with confusion, or placing blame, or we're not talking because you have an attitude, or blah blah blah. No, lead with, hey, I feel like something is going on ever since the project. Something doesn't seem right. Anything I did wrong, or what can I do to help? I know we have to clean it up. I know the next project may be bigger. What can we do to make sure we're successful? So insert yourself in a positive way, and then make sure, don't leave it there, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I offered help, and, they didn't say anything or do anything. No, follow up. Make sure you're consistent with your friendship as well, but also as your job, because a lot of times, other leaders are looking at you as well. They're looking at how you move, how you step up. So again, make sure you're doing your part with your friend, but also make sure you're doing your part at work, because that's the worst thing, to have a friendship at work and something goes wrong, and you bump heads. So always communicate and make sure you're listening when you actually get the conversation started. Make sure you're listening to what they say. Yes, keep that open line of communication. And I love what Joanna said. She said, start with saying, I miss our friendship. In fact, again, you don't know how that person is feeling. That person may feel the same way. So don't assume, because again, I just said it, we always assume things, and you never know what can be, going wrong. And it may not even be work. Maybe something's going on personally and they don't even know how to begin that conversation. So, just know that you need to support them. And sometimes you have to get out of your feelings so you can gain clarity, so you can understand their feelings, and you guys can feel the way that you need to feel together with clarity, communication, and weed out our negativity and confusion.
Great answer. I love and then what Joanna and Miss Doris said, when something is important to you as far as a friendship, you also have to realize that you're in a different dynamic too, because you all are in work. So who you consider your friend, it's a little delicate, because of course y'all are under a different type of situation where you have to take into consideration the job and the
Mhm.
fact that something was supposed to have been done and didn't get done in time. And
Right.
so whether or not, I don't know, because we just going by, of course, what you said. But say if, as a group project or whatever, you had a contributing part to why this didn't get done in a timely manner. Don't underestimate the importance and power of taking accountability and
Right.
saying, you know what, let me be the first to come and say, I would love to, have a conversation. Like Joanna said, start by saying, I miss our friendship and I want to apologize for my part in this project coming off, because y'all know that at the end of the day, you can say that, oh, well, as a supervisor, you may say, well, my team didn't do it, but most good leaders take responsibility,
Absolutely.
regardless of who actually was the person that caused the issue to happen,
Yeah.
because the upper management is looking at the leadership and it falls down on them. And so maybe she feels like, you put her out there to dry, or, you guys, let her take the heat when, she
Right.
had no control over it, or she felt like, I gave you all tools to work with. So don't underestimate the fact of taking accountability and just saying, listen, I'm sorry. I thought X, Y, and Z, and I did this. I thought this was the outcome. Unfortunately, it was not. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to sabotage your position, because you don't know what people are thinking when you don't have communication. She may feel like y'all were undermining her authority. I don't know if it's a male or female with a friend, but they may feel like you've undermined their authority. They may feel like, you don't care. And so until you have that conversation, it's going to be, estranged. And that's a hard thing to do when you're trying to do your job as well. So to clear the air, the conversation really needs to be had. And if it's something that is non-negotiable, to where they're at a point where, listen, I thought we were cool. I thought we were better than that. I thought you had my back like I have your back. Help them understand,
Right.
and ask for forgiveness, take accountability, because that
Mhm.
goes a long way. And I mean, that's whether it's a work relationship, whether it's any other type of relationship. Taking ownership and being accountable means a lot. Some people just want to know that you're sorry for your actions.
Mhm.
That may
That's
be enough, but you never know until you actually make that move and have that conversation. And once you do, then the air is clear, you know where you stand. And if it's something to where you guys can't repair it, then be professional at all times.
all.
And
Yeah.
understand that, hey, maybe it won't be like it used to be, but you can be cordial, y'all can be professional, you can handle business, you can make sure that whatever was a shortcoming before doesn't happen again. And who knows, it may take a minute to repair, but eventually maybe it'll come back around when that person sees that you are sincerely, upset about the end
Right.
result as well, and that you're willing to work on it and you're willing to, move forward and be professional and do better. And over time, maybe that's what they'll need to see, is your consistency
Mhm.
in doing your job well and making the team look good.
Absolutely.
That goes a long way.
Yeah, and true friendships don't shouldn't end over something like this. You're both still employed. Again, you don't know what's going on, but there are seasonal friendships and real friendships. And real friendships last. So let's just keep
But
it
Aunt Marie, let's go keep it real. People are funny when you mess with their money, baby. So listen,
true.
money can be a deal breaker. And when somebody feels like you have sabotaged their money, at their job, it can be something that they just like, hey, I'm cool with you until you mess with my man, my money, or my children, and then there's a problem. And again, until you have that conversation, you don't know.
Right.
So let's just, be mature enough to say, let me pull you to the side. Let's have a conversation. I miss our friendship. And if I've contributed to, what happened with this project, and if that's the deal breaker, let me apologize. Let me take accountability and let me do better. And I hope
Absolutely.
that works out for you guys. But if not, then understand you got to move on. If both of y'all are going to stay at the same place doing the same thing, then you just have to switch it to a more professional
Absolutely.
relationship.
Because that's tough. It
It
truly
is.
is tough, being friends with people that you work with or that work under your leadership. It's not easy because there's always going to be oh, well, she shows favoritism, or we
Mhm.
fail because they're best friends and they did blah, blah, blah. So she may not even have an issue with you. It could be somebody else and she's trying to figure out how to tell you. So again, communicate because you really don't know what the issue is. So I loved your answers though. And you're right. Money is a problem. When you play with my money, it's a problem. So
Baby, hey, listen, people that you
hopefully,
think, look, you honey, hold like Chucky in the beginning, and then you realize, wait a minute, you didn't make me miss out on a bonus, or you just don't know. And so you
right.
just gotta be mindful of that. When you start working with people, you're really putting them in jeopardy when you don't
Absolutely.
handle business correctly at their expense. And
Absolutely.
so people handle things different ways, and just be open minded
I agree.
the situation can go, because it can, hopefully y'all can repair the breach, but just be mindful that it may not, it may have went too far. And
Right.
if it has, you're going to have to suck it up and say, apologize again and again, just be professional.
I agree. All right. A love has spoke.
Okay.
Right. So let's move on. You know, I want to skip number three. Let's go to number four. This seems like I'm being petty today. This seems like a good one. Um, Yeah, let's get to number four. So, exchange number four says, so my question
Before
is,
you do that, Esmery, let everybody know, because we've got some new people that have tuned in. I see. So just let y'all know, we have relationship confessions, exchanges rather, that people will send us in via email. Some things that they are dealing with, and they're asking us to kind of put our 2 cents in and let them know what we think about it. So y'all feel free to put your perspective in as well, because again, all of us have dealt with different scenarios. Some of these things y'all may have went through it, so your input is valuable. Don't put it all on me and ask Marie. We want to hear some
right,
extra things too, right? We want to get some different perspectives, because we all see
absolutely,
things from different, we're coming from a unique way. And so all of
absolutely.
us have, experienced different things, and your experiences can definitely help somebody else who may be going through something. So hit it. Hit it.
All right, all right. So number four. So my question is it okay for your spouse to go to lunch with the opposite sex on a regular basis? My spouse goes to lunch with the same person multiple times a week. It seems intimate to me, and I feel the more time they spend together, the closer they will get. She said, it didn't sit right with me. What do I do? That's why she said it didn't sit right with me.
She said, baby, look, it's a problem brewing, and we need to address it. And you know what, Esmery, I guess a couple of things, because of course we only can take what you give us. So I'm wondering, is this he goes out to eat frequently with this other person? Is that at work? Like, is this a work wife type of thing? Or are you saying that they were friends before you and him met, and they used to go out and hang out and do things before? So is this something new? We have to take some. We just have look. Joanna already said, "Hell no, baby, no." Mm-mm. Period. No. But you got to take it. We got to just, I wish we had more information to know, because y'all know, even
Right.
in real work husbands and work wives, people, but they eat and talk and whatever. You just have to be mindful of how far their relationship goes, because it's a whole different thing when people are talking to people about really deep things, right? And when they want a shoulder to cry on, and when this shoulder turns into something different, and when y'all start, venting, and when you start getting emotionally
That
committed and attached, that is a crossover that you've crossed the line. And at that
mhm,
point, it's a problem,
it's a problem.
right? And I'm not saying for other people it may be a problem before then, and which sounds like that's where she's at. I don't care what you're talking about, what you're doing. Y'all eating a little too often, and it looked like y'all booed up, and I'm not feeling that. So you got to be, but you got to express that and have a conversation and let him know that that's a problem. And
Absolutely.
if he values his relationship with you, then he's going to make an adjustment, because nobody else should be worth messing up what he has with you.
Absolutely. And my thing is, have you even had this conversation with him? Does he know how you feel about this individual?
Hmm.
Did you guys have conversations about friends, with the opposite sex? And I'll say this, I have coworkers where we go to lunch. But at the same time, it's not alone. And if it is, it's because we're traveling together. But best believe, whoever you are, your spouse should know, because no one should ever be able to tell your spouse, oh, well, your wife or your husband did this, that, and the other. No one should be able to say anything. Like you have to communicate about, hey, well, I'm going to go to lunch with such and such. We're going to lunch because we're working on this, so we have to go together. Communication is key. And then if your spouse feels like you're doing this a lot, that's a problem. So whoever the individual is that's doing this, think about how your mate feels. Think about what if the roles were reversed? What if your wife was going with another mate or male to lunch 3 times a week? How would you feel? Did you have conversations about the opposite sex friendships prior to the marriage, or did this just start? What are your conversations like? Find out more of what's going on. It can be a work thing. Again, if it's not a work thing, you got to let your spouse know, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. You know, it's fine for you to work with, people of the opposite sex. I can't control that. But what I can do is what you do with your personal time. Your lunch is your personal time, so that's not forced. And if it is forced, it's, guess what? Mandatory meeting, lunch is provided. There's a big difference, because then it's not, oh, I'm with a love, and we're having lunch, and this is our meeting. Absolutely not. Not every day, not 3 times a week. So again, you have to have those conversations, and that's time that you're choosing to build and bond with another individual. It's not right, and you have to be thoughtful of their feelings and emotions and how that looks. Again, to other people, you don't want those assumptions. Your spouse needs to know before you go out with someone else. It's respectful.
It's
Or even if
respect.
not before, when you get home, hey babe, how was your day? It was fine. Had lunch with such and such. We were chilling, talking about X, Y, and Z. Nothing much. But a person shouldn't feel threatened or feel some type of way about their spouse going to spend time with other people. And I will say this, a lot of times it's the fear of, hey, relationships and cheating and infidelity doesn't start with intimacy. It starts with a communication. It could be a text, it could be a phone call, it could be a simple rub, pat on the shoulder. There are plenty of reasons why a relationship can go somewhere else where it wasn't intended to if you continue on with the same type of actions, because guess what? We're humans, we're emotional, we gain feelings. And you don't know how that other person is receiving your communication. Is that person married? Are they happily married? Are y'all conversing about your relationship because both of y'all are miserable? Because guess what? That might lead to something else if you're
Baby
attracted to
girl.
one another. You don't know. What were you going to say, Ayla?
I was going to say that opens up the door to things, and the fact of, and the frequency makes a difference. Miss Doris said, bottom line, it needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing, emotional involvement can be very, very big, when it comes to any relationship. when you get emotionally involved with somebody, to the point where, they're calling you, and does it extend over after work? Whether
Right.
they, are
Yeah.
they at work eating lunch, and then, something comes up and she's calling to say, hey, I need to talk to you about this because my
Mhm.
kid is acting up and can you come and talk to him? Or, hey, I'm just dealing with some things. I'm having some issues, some finance. How far does this relationship
So
go? And I'll say this, at the end of the day, women have intuitions. And if you feel like it's been a little too intimate, then definitely you need to address it, because you don't want to just assume that, oh, okay, it's nothing. And
right.
then later on, regret that you never talked about it and it's gone too far.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people, feel like they enjoy the little flirtation and they enjoy the little thing, and they feel like it's innocent, and they don't realize, that one person's agenda is not another person's agenda.
Mm-mm.
And sometimes people feel like, they're doing something because y'all are eating together multiple times during the week. And so they feel
Right.
like, well, if he didn't want to be here, he wouldn't show up multiple times during the week. So you have to be mindful of how much you allow people to have. Because what they say, let's just go back to this, doesn't have specifically anything to do with this, but when people say ain't nothing open after certain hours, but
Very
beds,
valid.
right?
Absolutely.
So when you start looking at it from a different perspective, if you
Right.
don't put yourself in this situation, then things can't come up. It's just like saying, if you're not out at 3 o'clock in the morning, then somebody can't call me and tell me something because you're not out at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? But
Right.
if you're out at 3 o'clock in the morning, it definitely opens up suspicions, because if somebody comes back and says, well, I saw your man and he was here, there, and the other.
Absolutely.
So just be very mindful, but have that conversation. And when you can shut it down, like I think Joanna said, shut it down. If it needs to be shut down, then your spouse or your significant other should care enough about you to not want to put you in that situation. And if
Right.
it means, because I'm gonna tell you, you need to love me enough to not care anything about somebody else's feelings. Because I want to care about somebody else's feelings. If it came to
Absolutely.
you, it would
When
be
you
a,
Yeah,
what I'm
when
saying?
you make that choice to be in a relationship, their feelings matter. That you're as one. That's the intention, is to be as one. So to, put someone else before the person that you vow to be with, that's
Hmm.
the problem.
That's the
It doesn't matter
problem.
what that person is going through, again, you can still be friends, but it's the conversation that needs to take place. And if you haven't had that conversation, I guarantee you, your spouse is like, babe, I never knew you felt that way. Closed mouth don't get fed. That's how I was raised. My mother says it all the time. So listen,
Right.
S. Marie opens her mouth.
You
I'm
just say,
feeling,
listen,
I
you ain't
think,
got to worry about what I'm thinking, because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say
listen,
it. So that
I
way
would
the
tell
air
you
is
too.
clear. Because if you don't,
Yeah,
it's festering inside of you. It's building up, and then you're going to have other problems because it comes out some kind of way. Either you're going to start acting funny, you're going to start being slick at the mouth. It's going to be something that's going to happen. If you don't address it correctly, it'll be handled incorrectly, which causes even
absolutely.
more problems. And somebody on Instagram said, a toxic person will make their issues your
Your
issues.
issues. Thank you. And that is so true. And I was going to say two things that my mother has always told me. One, I already told you, closed mouth doesn't get fed. But the second thing, and it tickled me as a kid, but as an adult, I understand. She said, she's always going to speak her mind. She said, because if I die tomorrow, I don't want to toss and turn in my grave thinking about what I could have, should have said to you. So I'm going to say it now.
Say
And
it
as a
now.
listen,
Say it when it matters. Listen,
when
because if you did, it won't
exactly,
matter. Say it when it matters.
yes,
Because a lot of relationships have broken up simply because you don't want to rock the boat. But you should never be in a relationship with someone to where you can't rock the boat if the boat needs to be rocked. I ain't saying flip it over, but you need to have a conversation. And Joanna, what you say? And if it requires it to be flipped, then flip it. But at the
right,
same time, let's have a conversation, because
absolutely,
we're in this thing together, and you shouldn't want to disrespect the person that you're with. No one else should come before the person that you've chosen to be committed to. And
absolutely,
so again, and whoever this person is, any woman should understand that, hey, if your wife is feeling some type of way, I understand. As a woman, I wouldn't want to do that to any other woman. So let me step aside, and respect what you have. So, wherever you're going to get you something to eat, bring me something back. But we can't be sitting down eating multiple times during the week. And they should respect that. And
Yeah.
Miss Doris said, I'm gonna Miss Doris said, I'm gonna rock the boat if it needs to be rocked, baby.
That
Listen.
tickled me. When I read it, I had to laugh. I'm with Miss Doris. You have to rock the boat, and let's be clear. It's not the fact that you're rocking the boat; it's how you rock the boat. Because
Yes.
I can rock that boat respectfully, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to rock. We got to shake tables and shake, rattle, and roll when my feelings are not intact because I need that clarity and understanding so I can push forward so we can continue on with what we're doing. Because as you said, once we start feeling some type of way, guess what? Anxiety, stress,
Mm-hmm.
attitude, we're not trying to be intimate, we're not trying to have conversations, and then that relationship just goes downhill. So you don't want
Yes.
that. Get into relationships where you are comfortable talking about your feelings, and also be in a relationship with someone who cares about your feelings, because if
That part.
someone doesn't care, then that's the problem. Because I guarantee you, if you are in love or that person loves you and values your relationship, guess what? Your feelings matter.
Your
It's
feelings.
not, oh, I don't care how you feel, you shouldn't feel that way. No, this is how I feel. That doesn't mean it's right, but the circumstances are making me feel this way. How can you assist me in me not feeling this way? Because I need this from you not to feel this way. So what do you need from me? Because that's what I need. What expectations should I have? When you lay out those boundaries, things go a long way. And A Love, I wasn't going to do number 5, but let's bring number 5 up because this talks about what we're talking about. We only have a few more minutes, but number 5 says, what type of boundaries should you set to have a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
TT, thank you for this. Um, Healthy relationships thrive on clarity and respect. And when you don't have clarity and respect, that relationship is not going to thrive. And right now, you're in this situation like you ready to jump in for double dutch, but you really don't know if you can jump in yet because you don't know if that rope is going to collapse or what because you don't have clarity. You don't have that understanding. So you're trying to jump in like you already got the ropes turning, but you're trying to jump in and you don't know if you should jump in. Get that clarity. Make sure that you're being respectful when you bring it to them. Don't have an attitude, be respectful. Because again, if the roles were reversed and you knew that you weren't doing anything, you want him to come to you respectfully and get the clarity that he needs. So always respect the person and respect the relationship. But you have to keep your emotions in check, excuse me, and your attitude as well, because you boundaries are meant to be put in place. If boundaries are broken, that's one thing. But it doesn't seem that you've set the boundary to begin with. So set those friendship boundaries, set that
Yeah.
time management boundary, set the communication boundary, any boundary that you want. That social interaction,
Mhm.
that's something else. And that's why a lot of people fail to, have solid relationships where you can communicate because you're looking at how social they are, but you're not talking about how social you want them to be. And you have to learn to trust your person, the person that you're with. So that person, I love it. Yes, if you
Miss
can't,
Doris said, you can't trust, that's an
that's an
issue.
issue, right? But if you want to trust that person, you have to be able to ask them the questions that you need to make you feel better. Because everyone wants to feel great in a relationship, and that's a healthy relationship communication. And physical, like what are you doing physically, like you have to know all these things. So definitely healthy relationships are what you make them, is what I'll say. Healthy boundaries are what you make them. Never assume, always talk about it. And again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, how you come, how you approach, what you say, that makes a big difference. And sometimes those need to be boundaries as well. How you talk to your mate, that's that respect boundary. So come respectful so you can get a respectful answer and your relationship can be respected through and through.
I think I always love when you give, all the advice, especially when it comes down to boundaries, because sometimes I feel like people, when you first get together, you're just trying to, everybody's all want to be on good behavior. You don't want to talk about some
Either.
things. But honestly speaking, when you all first get together, that's when you should start setting boundaries. You should start asking questions. You should start establishing what is non-negotiable for you, because that eliminates things happening and popping up later when you feel like, oh, I've invested a lot, so I don't want to really, do too much. It's never too much when it comes to your heart. It's
Yeah,
never too much when it comes to, the person that you love. And so when you set a boundary, when you have those conversations, you can establish things and keep it from getting to the point that it's gotten to. Because
absolutely.
sometimes things happen in relationships, and people, because you don't say anything, they feel like you're cool with it. And then when you say something, they get offended, like, oh. And yeah, Joanna said, I'm guilty of forgetting to establish boundaries, because a lot of times we just, we in the flow, we in the zone, we talking, everything good, you smelling good, looking good, we going out to eat, we having a good time. There's no pressure, stress, or anything.
Right.
But when you don't have conversations about certain things, when something pops up, you feel some type of way. And so we got to make it a point of not only setting boundaries in the beginning, but let's visit things on a frequent basis. Just like when you're at a job and they give you an annual review or a semi-annual or quarterly review, take the time to sit down and do a check on your relationship and see how are things. Are you happy? Is everything good? How can I make things better? What does that look like? And have those questions, and don't feel bad about asking about something you're not clear on. Because
Mhm.
like S. Marie said, clarity is everything. And like Miss Doris said, trust, if you don't have it, that's an issue. So when you establish things off the rip, then somebody can't come back and say, oh, well, I didn't know you was going to have a problem. Yes, you did, because I
Right.
told you about that. Told you
Exactly.
about my last relationship and what I went through, and I told you that's a trigger for me.
Right.
Please don't do that.
Right.
Have or let's have a conversation. Let me talk to Cindy. Let me
Yeah.
talk. Let me talk to whoever. And if y'all that cool and y'all having relationships, y'all having lunch and things like that on a frequent basis. Yes, Miss Dorsey, I always have 21 questions, and
Right.
as you should,
As you should. Yes, I was
as
going
you
to say that
should.
as you should. As you should. I listen. I ask 1,000 questions, and I don't care if you feel some type of way. The reason being is my time is precious.
Right.
I can't go back. All I can do is go forward. So I'm going to ask those questions. And a lot of times, even not in an intimate relationship, friendships, we jump in sometimes when we really need to sit back and watch. Have those conversations, as you said, up front. But when you're getting to know, that's the perfect time to find out what's going on and set those expectations and boundaries up front. So that way they will never know. And again, I love what you said. I love how you said people at work, you have your annual review. Listen, assess your relationship often. Don't do it once a year, do it often, every month,
Yes.
every other day,
Yes.
whatever you feel is comfortable, however you need to do it. Some people have pillow talk. Maybe at night when you're not sleepy, turn off that TV, have those conversations like, hey, babe, let's talk about this, or hey, I was thinking this, or I want to do this, or this transpired and I really didn't like it. That's the time because you don't want to go to bed with anxiety and frustration. You don't sleep well,
Mm-hmm.
feel well the next day. It alters everything that you're doing from that moment on. So always seek to get clarity. And if you get into a relationship, any kind, set boundaries. But you have to determine, and I know we're running up on time, but you have to determine what your boundaries are. So when you
Yeah.
go into these relationships and friendships, you need to know what your boundaries are. Don't build them as you go and then talk about them 7 years
Have a
later.
standard.
Guess what? Right. It's
Have
a
a standard.
standard, it's an expectation. So know what your boundaries are before. And you know what? A lot of times people say, hey, we didn't get to talk about it. Write about it, baby. Some people read for understanding. So you know what? Write about it. Say, we've been doing great, but I just wanted to take the time to write you a letter and tell you, hey, these are my boundaries. This is what I expect out of my mate. And, how do you feel about it? Write your boundaries down. What are your expectations? If you can't talk about it or there's a conversation that you wanted to, but you missed out, write a note, send a text, anything, because you need to know what you're getting into before you get into it. And then you say, oh, it's too late. Because guess what? It's never too late. You'll sit and suffer in silence. You'll be miserable. That's why people
Yeah.
commit suicide, they get depressed, they turn
Mm-hmm.
angry, they have issues. And again, don't get so consumed with that person, because guess what? You're going to turn around and be negative or mean to the next person because you didn't set your boundaries here and you don't want to take it out on this person because love exists. No love should exist that much that you can't feel comfortable or feel like it's healthy engaging in that relationship. So clarity is key, respect is key, setting boundaries and expectations. You have to. If you want something to be successful, there is no way to get around it without setting expectations or being open. Never just jump into something because they look good, because looks change. And I value
Don't they?
people who marry people for more than just their looks, because when you're 20, everything is intact. Everything is lifted and plump and everything. But baby, not all the time. Things happen. Time, age, and situations happen and you don't look the same. So make sure you're building with a person that doesn't just look good. You want to be with somebody that feels good mentally, spiritually, financially, academically, athletically, if that's what you want them to be, but whatever it is, make sure it feels good. So that's my answer to number 5 about boundaries. Whatever boundaries you feel comfortable, you make sure that you set them and you make sure they feel good to you. That's my answer.
Good answer. And I'm going to say this: love yourself enough to speak up for you.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to fight your battles and speak up for you more than you will. Love yourself enough to address things that need to be addressed. Because bottom line, you don't say anything. You over here with bubble guts while they over there eating and kicking and laughing and drinking and having a good time. And you the one that's toe up. You the one that's messed up. Before you allow yourself to be in that position, open your mouth and have a conversation. You owe that to yourself. Your loyalty definitely should be to you. And if you're with your significant other, have the conversation. And I'm telling you, it's going to make it stronger.
absolutely.
Also, if you feel like I don't like confrontation and I'm just not sure what to say, some of these things that y'all are hearing, these confessions and these exchanges, and people are giving you scenarios, ask your significant other the scenario. Listen, I was listening to this show, The Relationship Exchange, and they had somebody saying in something, and they were talking about, their significant other was eating lunch with somebody multiple times a week. Babe, how you feel about that?
Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
How you feel about that? And get their perspective so that when it comes around and you say, okay, so when you and Tamika be going out to lunch all the time, you know how you said that you thought there was a problem? Bro, that's a problem. So what we gonna do about that?
Absolutely. It doesn't get
Utilize
better
it.
than that.
I mean, but it's good conversation pieces because if you've never covered it, you want to know, babe, you know what? We don't have kids right now, but I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about the lady was saying her and her husband, they're not intimate anymore because they got a brand new baby and the baby crying at night and she trying to figure out, how do you feel? If we have kids, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, are you going to feel some type of way because I've got to spend time with the baby? I mean, where are you? How do you feel about that?
Feel about
Have
it.
conversations with people and give scenarios and see what their thoughts are, because we all have been raised differently. Somebody else may say, oh well, my parents, they were cool. My dad had a friend and my mom was cool with it, and my mom's best friend was a guy and my dad was like, yeah, hun ride together all the time. But you may have been brought up. Well, your mom was like, "Girl, I would slice that neck if I found him." People are raised differently, so you gotta understand. And the only way that you can address it is to have the conversation.
Absolutely.
So make sure you have good communication. Is everything, y'all. At the end of the day, whatever scenario we have, communication is always at the center of it. Period.
Absolutely. Period. I love it. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you hit it spot on. And before we go, because we are at the top of the hour, thank you guys for joining. But also, again, share, like, and remember to submit a situation to us, a scenario, or whatever's on your mind, heart, or spirit. Submit it so we can talk about it. Even if you know someone else is going through something, don't leave a name. Just submit your confession. We love to talk about it. We love to hear from you. Again, the first person said, it is about single, married, and divorce, but again, we want to talk about relationships in general. So if you have something else and it's not about a personal relationship, we're talking about friendships, workshops, any kind of relationship. We love to hear about it, talk with you guys, and offer you words of wisdom. So please, please join us, and submit a confession.
Yes, because we want to do what we can to really help bridge the gaps. And a lot of times, these things happen because we don't have communication. So let's talk about it. Let's, put it on the table and submit it. It's bit.ly/exchange confession. So make sure you reach out and send us something. And if you don't remember that, if y'all know S. Marie and myself, send us a DM so we'll have it and we'll make sure to read it and, go over it and hopefully get some feedback from our audience. But thank y'all for, being here, to our IG community, the Facebook community, YouTube community. We are super excited. This is episode 3 of the Relationship Exchange. So we're just getting started. I'm telling y'all, it's going to get better and better. My friend, her grandmother used to say, it's going to get gooder and gooder, baby. Yes, gooder and gooder. All right. Well, y'all have a good one. We will see you all next Tuesday. Bye.